A year ago, our world changed forever. The first passage drift opened, and with it, a dark dimension unleashed strange, terrifying monsters. Humanity was pushed to the brink of destruction. Entire cities burned, reduced to ashes as people ran for their lives. But just when all hope seemed lost, heroes arrived. We call them warriors. They fought back, and because of them, humanity survived. But the rifts brought more than just monsters. They brought magic stones. These crystals pulsed with an energy so powerful that oil, gas, and coal became relics of the past. Magic stones became the world's primary energy source. Now, every country on Earth has its eyes on the rifts, desperate to seize as many of these valuable stones as possible. In this new era, top-level heroes earn millions, and a massive industry has sprung up around the gates and the warriors who conquer them. Now, let's shift our focus to Dojin, who has just arrived at Yeongjung capital. He is here for one person, the main boss of the loan sharks who have been tormenting him. As he steps inside the building, he's greeted by a familiar sight, the same thugs who stormed his house just a few days ago, demanding money. Dojin remains calm on the outside, but a fire of retribution burns in his eyes. The boss, a smug-looking man, slowly rises from his seat. He puts out his cigarette, a smirk playing on his lips. "So you're the guy who beat up my men?" he says, his voice dripping with condescension. "You've got some guts." Dojin doesn't flinch. His voice is steady and firm. "I'm the one who suffered the loss. I've come to take what's mine." The boss lets out a short, mocking laugh, but his expression quickly turns serious. "What right? What fantasy world are you living in, kid?" Dojin's tone drops, becoming as cold as ice. "I want compensation for the mental, physical, and financial torture I was forced to endure." A flicker of doubt crosses the boss's face. This isn't the same weak, scared boy he'd been dealing with. He starts to suspect that Dojin might have gained a powerful ability inside a gate. Still, he can't let go of his arrogance. "You think whatever you've become will save you. This overconfidence will be your downfall." With a subtle signal from the boss, the room suddenly fills with his men. They pour in from every corner, a formidable gang ready for a fight. But Dojin is no ordinary human anymore. Within him resides the soul of the legendary sword god. The boss issues one final, menacing warning. Don't fly too high. Many big shots have come and gone. None of them survived. But Dojin is completely unfazed. He casually sits down on the sofa, looking as relaxed as if he were in his own living room. 5 thugs stand before him, their faces contorted with rage, ready to pounce. Just as the boss is about to give the order, Dojin speaks again, his voice calm but commanding. "Sit down, or you'll regret it." "We're not done talking." One of the thugs scoffs and ignores the warning, stepping forward aggressively. Dojin slowly removes his glasses, a faint smile on his lips. In a flash, he throws a punch. It's so powerful, so fast, that the thug goes flying through the air, crashing to the ground like a sack of potatoes. The room falls silent. Everyone else is stunned, their jaws agape. What happens next is a masterclass in controlled chaos. Dojin takes them all on, one by one, each takedown a unique display of his newfound power. One thug slams hard into a wall. Another has his nose broken with a swift strike. But Dojin isn't just fighting. He's talking, his voice echoing through the room amidst the sounds of the brawl. "Your boss didn't just run a lone scam," he says, effortlessly dodging a punch. "He also runs a fake identity business." He lands another precise blow, then continues, his intention crystal clear. "I want a hero identity, officially registered. I want to earn money, and I want to do it legally." Soon, the entire gang is lying motionless on the floor, groaning in pain. The only sound in the room is the steady rhythm of Dojin's breathing. He turns his attention back to the boss, who is now pale with fear. Dojin repeats his demand. He wants a foolproof hero ID, one that won't cause him any problems down the line. The boss is completely shaken. He can't believe what he just witnessed. A few thugs who had stayed out of the fight watch from the corner, too terrified to move. The boss's mind races, trying to calculate the sheer power he just saw. This kid, he has to be at least B-class, maybe even higher. He gets so lost in his thoughts that Dojin has to snap him out of it. "Hey," Dojin says, waving a hand in front of the boss's face. Are you conscious? Finally, the boss caves. He stammers out his agreement. Dojin walks over and places a hand gently on his shoulder, but the friendly gesture is contradicted by the deadly serious look on his face. His voice drops to a chilling whisper. Did my stepmother, Hang Heiju, order my death? The boss's breath catches in his throat. Dojin's grip on his shoulder tightens, the pressure becoming unbearable. The boss cries out in pain, his bones creaking. His men, seeing their leader in agony, don't even dare to step forward. They're frozen in fear. Forced to talk, the boss spills the truth. Yes, it was Hang Heiju. She wanted Dojin's account completely drained. Her plan was to bury him in a mountain of debt, so massive that he would see no other way out but to take his own life. Hearing this confirmation, Dojin releases the boss's shoulder. But he's not finished. He fires another question. Was the plan to trap me in the gate also hers? The boss immediately tries to act innocent, his hands raised in surrender. I had nothing to do with that. If you died in the gate, I wouldn't get my money back either. Dojin's eyes narrow. He then drops a name. Kong Toul. He was the man who led Dojin to that treacherous gate. Dojin wants every single detail about him. You have 24 hours, he declares, his tone leaving no room for argument. And with that, he turns and walks out of the room in a cool, collected manner, leaving a scene of destruction and terror in his wake. As he walks away, Dojin is lost in deep thought. Not long ago, becoming a real S-rank hero named Dojin was just a distant dream. His only wish was a simple one: to protect his grandmother and his union, no matter the cost. His life had been a constant struggle, full of pain and hardship. But everything has changed now. He is no longer the weak boy he once was. He is a sword master, and he is ready to change his destiny. The next morning, Dojin officially registers as a hero and receives his B rank ID card. He walks up to the gate and taps the card on the machine. The system confirms his identity, but then a bright red warning flashes across the screen. Your rank is below the recommended level for the dangerous quest you are about to undertake. Dojin feels a flicker of irritation. He thinks to himself that if he'd just scared that clueless boss a little more, he might have snagged a higher rank right from the start. Shrugging off the system's advice, he ignores the warning and jumps straight into the Night Island gate. This is a B rank gate, the kind of place where even seasoned B rank heroes break into a cold sweat. For safety, the unwritten rule is that a hero S rank should be at least one level higher than the gate they enter. This particular gate is a notoriously dangerous dungeon, filled with winding, dark tunnels and monsters that are extremely tough for solo hunting. But in Dojin's dictionary, words like risk and fear simply don't exist. He scoffs at the idea of danger. What's the worst that could happen? He'll just have to clear a few tunnels packed with monsters. No big deal. His first target materializes from the shadows, a giant snake, its scales shimmering with a sinister purple aura. For other heroes, that purple glow would be a massive warning sign, a signal to retreat and regroup. But for Dojin, it's a lucky omen. A grin spreads across his face as he readies his weapon, his knuckles cracking in anticipation. But the snake isn't alone. It's surrounded by several smaller companions, their forked tongues flicking in and out, tasting the air as they prepare to strike. In perfect coordination, they launch a full-scale assault on Dojin. But this is where he thrives. He transforms into a blur, a whirlwind of destruction, a literal killing machine. He slashes through the pack of monsters with brutal efficiency, looting magic stones from their dissolving bodies, as if they were nothing more than training dummies. Just as he finishes with the minions, a much larger threat emerges: the Black Killing Viper. This beast is infamous for its paralysis poison, a venom so deadly that even top-tier heroes would lose consciousness in seconds. But Dojin moves like a bullet. He closes the distance in an instant, unleashes a flurry of attacks with his full force, and begins to cut the massive snake into pieces. Blood splatters across the cavern walls. With one final, devastating punch, the snake's body splits completely in two. Dojin takes a moment to check his gloves. They were specially designed to block poison, and it looks like they're working perfectly. No tingling, no numbness. Good. He immediately switches back into hunting mode. A few more snake monsters appear from the darkness, and with a series of swift, precise strikes, he sends their heads flying. But this time, not a single magic stone drops. Dojin feels a pang of disappointment. He remembers that even back in his old world, the drop rate for these stones was abysmally low, only about 1%. That means if he really wants to get rich and power up, he'll have to wipe out entire armies of these creatures. He rounds the next corner and comes face to face with a strange pair, a hulking Mr. Bonehead-like skeleton, standing alongside an oversized snake, far larger than any he's fought so far. Anyone else would have immediately mistaken this duo for a boss fight. Amused, Dojin calls out jokingly, "So, what are you, the boss, brother?" His plan is simple. End this fight with a single, overwhelming power punch, and move on. He winds up and lets it fly. But there's a twist. His fist connects with a loud thud, but instead of crushing the snake's skull, his punch leaves only a faint, tattoo-like mark on its head. It did absolutely no damage. The monster becomes enraged. It lets out a furious hiss, and attacks with such ferocious speed that Dojin is sent crashing into a nearby wall. The impact rattles him. He realizes his mistake. He had completely underestimated this monster. The creature bears its long, venomous fangs, its eyes locked onto him, like a predator about to pounce on its cornered prey. Dojin pushes himself off the wall and dodges at high speed, the snake's fangs grazing past his shoulder. He counters with a sharp, focused punch to its side. This time, he feels a slight give, and fine cracks begin to spread across the monster's scaly hide. He understands now. The monster's outer layer is incredibly strong, like a suit of natural armor. With his current weakened power level, defeating it in one blow is simply impossible. He needs a better strategy. That's when his eyes fall on something glinting in the dim light, an ancient sword, half buried in the dirt, likely belonging to a warrior who fell here long ago. The blade is worn, chipped, and battered. It looks like a piece of junk. But Dojin knows better. The true strength of a weapon depends entirely on the one who wields it. He snatches the sword from the ground and advances toward the snake. The monster lets out another roar and lunges again, but this time, Dojin is ready. He leaps high into the air, the old sword held high, and shouts with fierce excitement, "You're lucky, I'm going all out on you." Within a few blindingly fast strikes, the giant snake is cut into pieces. As the final piece hits the floor, Dojin's sword, unable to handle his power, crumbles into dust in his hand. Even a monster as powerful as this couldn't stand a chance against a true swordmaster. After the dust settles, he walks over to the monster's remains and breaks off one of its massive fangs. He inspects it closely, a plan already forming in his mind. He'll have a short sword made from it. Treating the fang as his well-earned hunting reward, he finally turns and exits the gate. Outside, the sky is dark. Night has already fallen. He realizes he spent far more time inside that gate than he had calculated. This hunt, while successful, only fueled his hunger to regain his former, godlike strength. He feels a slight sense of relief that his old friends are on around to see him in this weakened state. If they saw him struggling against a B-rank monster, it would have been beyond embarrassing. Returning from a successful hunt, our hero Dojin arrives at the exchange center to sell his magic stones. Inside, he sees another hero at the counter, a heavy bag of stones beside him. The arrogant receptionist is treating this hero like absolute garbage, telling him the commission is a whopping 45%. The hero can sense the scam, but the receptionist just spews the same old lines, claiming their rates are the best in the market, that the gate center takes 10%, and that taxes are separate. The hero, noticing the receptionist's bandaged face, asks what happened. The receptionist whines that some freak beat up his guards and did this to him. The hero scoffs, telling him it's his own fault for hiring weak guards. He tries to explain that in their world, rank is everything and skill matters. The difference between a mere guard and a real fighting hero is night and day. But the receptionist, fed up, just shoos him away. Just then, Dojin steps forward. The moment the receptionist sees him, his face turns pale with fear, and he tries to hide. He screams, pointing at Dojin, "It's him. That's the freak who did this to me." The other hero looks at Dojin, who, despite his slender and tall build, had just effortlessly dusted his guards. The hero asks Dojin if he's the one causing all this trouble, thinking Dojin is just a bully, throwing his weight around. Dojin glares back at him and says in a sharp, cold tone, "If you value your life, brother, you'll get out of here right now." The hero is furious. But he's not stupid. He knows picking a fight with another hero is a bad idea, and seeing Dojin's unshakable confidence, he decides living is the better option. He swallows his anger and leaves quietly. The receptionist just stands there, stunned and completely rattled. Dojin turns to him, his voice dripping with menace. "Is there a problem you'd like me to solve? If there is, tell me now. You won't get another chance." The receptionist is frozen in terror, unable to utter a single word. Without waiting for an answer, Dojin slams a massive bag of magic stones onto the counter. "I want to sell all of these," he declares, "and I want cash. You'll remember our last deal, won't you?" The receptionist stares at the mountain of stones, completely dumbfounded. He can't wrap his head around it. Who is this guy? After a moment of frantic calculation, he comes up with the total: 150 million wands. For a regular hero, this amount is a life-changing treasure. But for Dojin, it's just a small reward from a single day's hunt. He still needs to buy his 10 billion won house, so this is just pocket change. He demands the cash, but the receptionist, like a broken record, starts his old song and dance about the commission. Dojin's anger skyrockets. That's when he remembers their special deal. His commission is only 1%. He calmly says, "Fine, deduct your commission and get the rest of the money ready. Now." The receptionist is completely flustered by all of this. Dojin thinks about teaching him a more permanent lesson, but the poor guy is already lost in his own world of panic. He stammers that for such a huge amount, he needs permission from his boss. Dojin doesn't waste a single second. "Then get permission now." The receptionist quickly calls his boss, explaining the situation in a trembling voice. But Dojin has had enough. He snatches the phone and speaks directly to the boss. "We have a deal. Send the payment immediately." The boss agrees and tells him to give the phone back. Dojin, feeling a bit playful, decides to give the receptionist a little scare. He smirks and smashes the phone against the wall. The receptionist sees his shattered phone and starts shaking like a leaf. "Get the cash ready. Fast," Dojin orders. The receptionist finally gets the message. His cheap tricks won't work on this guy. He scrambles to prepare several large bags of cash, his spirit completely broken. Now, you might feel sorry for him, but remember, this is the same crook who scams hardworking, poor heroes out of half their earnings without batting an eye. A short while later, the boss storms into the shop. He's furious because his employee wasn't answering the phone and he feared the worst. But seeing the receptionist alive, just terrified, surprises him. The whole situation is a mess. The broken phone, the tense atmosphere, the boss can guess what went down. He pulls out his own phone and calls a friend for help. And who does his friend send? A girl named Jun. This isn't just any girl. Jun is the famous pink-haired hero, an idol and a star to the public. Her look is so stylish and beautiful that everyone is crazy about her. More importantly, she's known as the country's 4th S-rank hero. As she walks into the store, the receptionist just stands there, jaw on the floor. Jun, with a sweet smile, introduces herself. She sits down with flair, ready to hear the whole story. The manager then begins to explain all the chaotic events that just unfolded. Dojin basked in the morning sunshine, his lean body still recovering. He meditated, focusing his strength, trying to regain the power he once held. But even the rewards from his recent hunts felt insignificant. He was worried about the future, for himself and his family. He knew that the troubles ahead were only going to grow, and with his current power, he wouldn't be able to face them. His ultimate goal was to clear Ezran Gates alone, but to do that, he needed his old strength back. The problem was, the mana density in this world was far lower than in his original one. Even if he gathered mana at full speed, it would take at least 3 years to recover his power. And he just didn't have that kind of time. He could boost his strength with better weapons. But even the cheapest ones cost 100 million won, a sum he couldn't afford. Besides, compared to the equipment from his past life, the weapons of this world were nothing more than junk. Just then, he felt a powerful presence. He grabbed his grandmother and sister, Yunine, and shouted for them to get inside. His grandmother panicked, asking what was happening. Suddenly, the entire building shook violently. His grandmother screamed, thinking it was an earthquake, but Dojin knew better. A rift had opened directly above their house. This was a massive problem, not just for him, but for everyone in the area. Without wasting a moment, he told his family to stay put and ran at full speed toward the rift gate. As he entered, he could hear their cries behind him. But Dojin knew this was his best chance to increase his power. Plus, the government had strict rules against civilians entering rifts, so this was a risk he had to take. News of the new rift sent the Hero Association into a frenzy. It was the first one to open in this area in 63 days. The manager knew the White Tiger Guild was closest and immediately ordered his staff to contact them. He also alerted all nearby heroes and commanded an immediate evacuation of the area. When they checked the rift's location, they realized the dire situation. It had opened directly above a house. They knew that if an ordinary person entered a rift, their chances of survival were 0. And if they died inside, a monster wave would emerge in 10 days, capable of devastating all of Seoul. Then, the report came in. Someone had already entered the rift. The manager was desperate to know who it was. The answer shocked them. It was Su Dojin, the resident of that very house. Dojin's grandmother told the authorities he had jumped in to save his family. The Hero Association checked their records, but there was no information on him. He wasn't a registered hero. This made the situation even worse. For a normal human, returning alive from a rift was simply impossible. Meanwhile, Dojin found himself in a forest inside the rift. It felt strangely familiar, exactly like a place he used to visit in his past life. Everything was just as he remembered it, even the deep mana flowing through the air. He knew these paths by heart. Following his memory, he walked until he reached his destination, the World Tree. This tree was a source of pure mana, a balancer of the world's power. In his old world, it had been burned to ashes, but here, in this rift, it was perfectly fine. Dojin didn't understand why, but he knew this was his chance. He could absorb its power and regain his old strength. Without a second thought, he sat beneath the tree and began to meditate. For 3 days, he went without food or water, focusing solely on absorbing the mana. For 10 days, he held his breath, controlling its flow. Then, one night, alien-like creatures, Walsina monsters, appeared, intent on burning the tree, just as they had in his old world. But this time, Dojin was there to stop them. The monsters attacked. Dojin regretted not having his water element sword. With it, he could have wiped out these fire monsters in an instant. But now, he didn't need a weapon. After all he had endured, he himself had become a weapon. He unleashed a release attack, a concentrated blast of mana, on one of the monsters. It was obliterated instantly. Another monster, seeing his power, fired a laser beam. Dojin simply created a shield with his own mana to block it. He yelled, "I saved the World Tree. Now it's time to have some fun." The monsters tried another energy blast, but Dojin caught 2 of them, clamped their mouths shut, and made their own attacks explode inside them. Their heads burst, leaving behind 2 precious magic stones. Dojin was actually enjoying this fight. As he cut down more monsters, he unlocked the Eternal Ember, a small, golden, glowing seed. The moment he held it, he felt his strength surge. He crushed the seed, and its power was unlocked. His body was now at its limit for mana absorption. The only other option was to fully absorb the ember, transforming the fire into pure mana. So, that's what he did. His body filled with the energy of fire. In his old world, he never needed the Eternal Ember. But now, he was on a mission to absorb them all. Far away, Dojin's stepmother, Hung Yuan, was furious. She had received news of Dojin's newfound power and couldn't believe the weak boy she knew had become so strong. Her assistant confirmed that although he wasn't officially registered, he had unlocked new powers after returning from the previous gate. This news drove her insane. She had paid Kong Chiawu to get rid of Dojin, but instead, he had only made him stronger. She slammed her fist on the table, furious that they had taken her money and left the job half done. She threatened manager Li and Kang, telling them to finish the job or return double the money. Just then, her assistant delivered the latest news. A rift had opened right above Dojin's house, and he had entered it. A wide, cruel smile spread across Hung Yuan's face. She jumped with joy, convinced that Dojin would not survive this time. She relaxed, telling her assistant to simply keep an eye on the situation and enjoy the show.